Hello. I hope you can hear me. Um, 10 o'clock on the dot here in Atlanta. This is my first live feed. Oops, too much light. So it will be brief. Just wanted to share some thoughts. Hope you all had a good week. Um, Long weekend coming up. Uh, so if you're traveling, be safe. Um, this week, hmm, the Supreme Court uh, went on a bit of a rampage isn't the wrong word, but the Supreme Court sent out some energy this week. And I use the word energy because people tend to think, and no fault of our own, but we're so busy dividing up the world into physicality that that we underestimate or take for granted that what we're seeing out there is a lot of energy. And I think when people are looking at politics, they need to pay attention to what is actually being said, what it's actually about. We get too binary and fractional when we should be looking at a bigger picture. And I know to a number of you, that's nothing new, what I just said. Um, it's nothing new, what I just said about how binary we tend to get when it comes to politics. So that is something that, when it comes to reading the political environment, something that we have to work on um, as voters, as taxpayers, what have you. So I hope the mic is picking me up. If you're out there listening, the one or two or three of you, I truly appreciate if you let me know if you can hear me. Um, anyway, one one of the opinions that came out this week, one of the opinions that came out this week had to do with abortion. Um, I tend to believe that as a man or as a male, that it's really not my place to say whether or not a woman should have an abortion. That's her call. But this case meant more than just a woman's right to have an abortion. I think this case has a lot to do with a bigger picture, that picture being the myth of privacy um, and the need for the United States to present itself as a more cohesive, unified, single valued uh, entity. The United States is preparing to, well, it's in the middle of a competition with with China, in a competition with a country that tries to operate on singular values as a people. A lot of us in the West question the means by which they try to present themselves as a single, as a country, as a single-minded entity. At least that's what they try to pursue. We all have heard about their crackdowns on freedom of expression, speech, press, what have you. But that nation has decided that it is to the benefit of all of their inhabitants, that they pursue a collective approach to politics, global and domestic. The United States, on the other hand, appears to be at the tipping point of fragmentation. This country, I was just talking to a friend of mine today, and I don't recognize this country. First time I came here was in 1969, and I visited frequently through the 70s, 80s, 90s. Well, by the 90s, I was on the mainland going to college. So I've been living here. June 22nd makes 42 years. And I don't recognize this country. I'm not going to sit here right now at this moment at 10:05 and say, whether that's bad or whether that's good, but there's a difference. There are people out there concerned about where this country is going and trying to get a grip on where it's going, try to get a feel for where this energy is taking us. And I really do believe that we're moving, or there's a willingness to direct the country towards something that's more uniform. I mean, the two-party system, if you're talking politics, is bad enough. But for a two-party system, the amount of division is ridiculous. And given the current state right now of the economy, and given what so-called experts, prognosticators, futurists are telling us about the future makeup of labor, um, we have not seen anything yet. So for a lot of us, it's a matter of how do we prepare for a future. And I use that word hesitantly, because if you don't see it, it doesn't exist. You should be living in the now. However, we got to be practical, right? Preparing for a future while still trying to navigate this present. And right now, when it comes to navigating this present, just go to the supermarket. When you're paying $10 for a couple pounds of wings or something, and when just a year and a half ago you may have been paying less than five, maybe 4.50. When you're looking at inflation, but you can't get a straight answer as to, well, what is the true cause? Is it Joe Biden spending too much money? Nah, I'm no Democrat. I'm no fan of the president, but even I wouldn't go around blaming him for inflation. Or is it money supply? Now that's a more plausible answer, especially for we economists out there. But for the layman, they don't understand that. Um, that's the word I'm looking for. These are esoteric arguments when you're talking about uh, M1, M2 money supply. You know, who's responsible for increasing the money supply? Too much money out there chasing too few goods. And then when you throw in the idea of supply chains clogging up, which is a concept right now that I would not entertain, given when you walk into a Target and they're announcing that they've got to implement price cuts because they've got too much inventory, then that blows that supply chain argument the hell out of the water. So Americans are getting right now, when it comes to the economy, multiple messages. And on top of that, they're seeing job cuts. So on the one hand, you see a 3.6% unemployment rate. On the other hand, you're seeing, well, yes, admittedly, larger companies letting people go. What does that say about the future of what we define as the economy? Now, the takeaway here is yes, you have these conflicting messages. What is the narrative that I should be looking for in order to understand what is going on? Well, I'm getting, again, a message from when it comes to the political parties, I'm getting a message from the left saying, oh, it's the other guy's fault. That guy that used to be in office a year and a half ago, it's his fault. I don't know how it's his fault. He's sitting down in Florida, but you're giving the guy a lot of props, a lot of power for doing nothing. But it's the other guy's fault. Okay. And then you've got the people on the right. Oh no, it's Joe Biden's fault. He's inept. He's not a leader. He's running up deficits, even though it's Congress that approves the money spending. So where do you get away with blaming Biden on that? So again, these are the conflicting messages that we're getting from government. Well, Alton, how do you handle these conflicting messages? What do you do? How do you gain clarity? Because on top of that, Alton, I've got a media that I've got one portion of the media that seems to be touting for Joe Biden, scaring me about the orange guy living down in Florida, telling me that if he runs again for president, that the country will be a hot mess, without connecting the dots from what's happening in my life today to what he may or may not do should he run for president again. And then you've got the other side of the media saying, well, no, again, it's Joe Biden and the Democrats, especially the progressives, and they're throwing this country's values under the bus, and they're making you focus on stuff that has nothing to do with your life, with making your life better. They're focusing on green energy when you're paying 5, 6, getting close to $7 a gallon for gas. They're not focusing on your reality. So these competing narratives, and America is caught between them. So how do you read this energy, and what do you do? Well, my channel is a political channel, so I'll deal with I'm going to be focusing a lot on the politics. What can you do? Well, when you're talking about politics, there are only two questions you should have in mind, especially when it comes to government. One, how do I take direct control of government? Or two, how do I get the hell far away from government? Those are the only two issues that you should be concerned about. If you allow yourself to fall to be encompassed in all of the noise, you're never going to understand what's happening. So you have to commit to understanding or making sense of what's being said and done, so that you can prepare yourself to stay as far away from the mess as possible, or to understand the processes of government so that you can take it over. There's no in between. Not now in the 21st century. You're either in the game or you're out. A lot of us choose to be out, but then we're suffering from the decisions that this government makes. So you have to make up your mind. You want to start out, and you have to continue to be properly informed. Now, when I say properly informed, and you've probably heard this over and over again, but when I say properly informed, I'm not referring to watching the news media, listening to Rachel Maddow or Sean Hannity. No, that's not information. You need to get up every day, take a look at the data that you see right in front of your face. Food prices, gas prices, rent, interest rates. You need to understand these prices. The next thing you need to do is to understand, you have to define them and understand what causes the changes in them. Okay. The basics. When you get the definitions down, then you need to start getting more original data. If you want to know what's going on with interest rates, you do not turn on your television. They have no answers for you. You can start at the banks. You can look at central bank or Federal Reserve data. Call up a couple teachers or experts. Hey, I want to confirm when these prices do XYZ, what could be the causes? And then you need to plan your day, month, year accordingly. You need to use first principles when you're dealing with government. You cannot listen to or trust the media. For me, I've gotten rid of most media. I haven't watched broadcast television in months. It's wonderful to feel my brain healing. Stay away from that stuff. Focus only on the data and what's causing the data to move. Go to original sources. Don't listen to don't spend too much time listening to people in social media or on the regular media. They might, I'll be nice, they may drop a few nuggets. But when those nuggets drop, you need to be asking yourself, well, is this true? Where do I go to find the correct answers? How do I learn to analyze this stuff? And you take it upon yourself to analyze what's going on around you. Each one of you should be able, after a while, to analyze on your own the energy that's occurring around you. There's no excuse. The tools are out there. You have access to this thing called the internet, this network of networks, these connected computers and databases. Use them. You got a public library, go take a visit. If you can spend 3 hours in front of Netflix, you can take an hour and a half, go to the library with your kids, start looking up material. Your ancestors, when they hunted for their food, they had to learn their environment. They had to understand everything about their environment so that the hunt could be successful. This is the same thing. It hasn't changed. It's the same process. You don't listen to third, fourth parties unless they've got high value data and information to share with you. But it's up to you to analyze it. So, I'm 18 minutes into this rant. This is just a test. I promise to visit you again, maybe with something more organized. Like I said, this is just a test. I want to see how comfortable I would be getting in front of a camera. But letting you know again going into the future that this is about your political capital, how you increase it, how you use it to analyze what is going on around you. And again, in parting, stay away from regular media. It doesn't mean going out there looking for conspiracy theories. That's not I'm not talking about that. Learn how to analyze the energy that is flowing around you so that you're not caught for a loop, so that you're not surprised, so that you're ahead of the curve. Anyway, thank you for listening. And I will see you again tomorrow night at 10 o'clock. We're going to make this regular. I'll keep everybody disciplined. All right, take care.